Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers, all my viewers, all the people who've left comments in my channel. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your mindfulness, for the professional, interesting comments you leave behind. It just shows that you'll have the best characters and the ethical morals because we're here to help victims to get justice, especially victims who do not have a voice of their own. And we're not here to criticize, but although the police said that they don't want us to speculate, in this case I'm going to talk about, they haven't given us enough information and the timelines changed thrice that I know of, so it's very difficult for me to have confidence in Lancashire police because of the case of Nicola Bulley. And I'm entitled, and we all are entitled, to say our opinion, but we have to do it respectfully, I guess. I am upset that Nicola is confidentiality rights were breached because those were personal information about Nicola, his struggles, whether it was health like menopause or alcohol issues. As a mental health counselor, I know how difficult it is for patients, or we call them clients in better terms, who are struggling with alcoholism or are struggling because they're in the fight to move on and not go back to that toxic life. So it is really hurting to hear a missing person is rights being breached. Whether it was Paul who gave it to the police should have thought better and not put out this information. It was written that from the start that Nicola was high risk, and I do understand that, but then what would have been better is Paul should have given those informations from the start so that Peter Folding could have tried and searched for Nicola according to the vulnerabilities. So I think it was really unfair for Peter Folding and the SGI not to get, they didn't need to get the complete information, but they could have been highlighted a bit from law enforcement since the family called them in and since they have worked with law enforcement in many other cases. So I find that really disturbing, and especially I find it disturbing that it came from Paul. Those information was leaked by Paul or was told from Paul to the police, and he did that. It's not about him telling the police about Nicola's vulnerabilities. It is about him telling the police when they were 19 or 20 days in the search. So then I ask myself always, what is the motive? What motive does he have? Because if you want someone to be found, especially your spouse or your loved one, you would have done it immediately. You would have given up all the information you can to law enforcement and you would have told them, do not tell the world, but tell Peter Folding, tell people that it's important to, because maybe Nicola was struggling of this or that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have given out the information. And I do believe some of the information of Nicola struggling with something is true, because on the 17th of January, the mental health team and the medical team and I believe the welfare and the police were at her house. But I don't think it was due to, I don't know what it was due to, but then if welfare was there and if it was extremely concerning and the mental health team was there, I don't think the CPS, the social service, would have let Nicola continue looking after her daughters and drive them to school if she was having issues of menopause or alcoholism. So I find that to be very baffling. I find that to be very hard to accept because looking at Nicola's pictures, I know pictures can be deceiving, but looking at Nicola's pictures, she looked like she was fit, she was very athletic. You can see that she takes care of her body, she takes care of herself, she takes care of her children. She has a lovely job, she has a nice car. She looked like she took her children to school on time. So I don't know what issues was said and why it was said, but I believe it should be investigated because it was Paul who gave the police those information, and why did he do it 21 days, 19 days down the line? Another thing is, I've put in a lot of things that I have seen to be red flags from Paul's interview, and I've spoken about them before, but I found it very difficult. Not difficult, found it very strange to hear when Paul said that when the reporter asked him, "What do you think happened?" He said that, I hate to think that way, I don't want to think that way, but I don't believe the river is what happened because none of Nicola's clothes or items were found. I found that to be very interesting. What clothes and what items was Paul expecting to pop out from the river? But the one thing that I agree with Paul is he said that he believes that it's a decoy, it's a stage scene. Obviously, when you look at the bench, we are not blind, we have a brain. And when we look at the bench and we see the water, how shallow it is, and we see the divers walking in the water, if Nicola fell in the water, like Peter Folding said, just say if she was pushed in the water, like he said actually, if Nicola was pushed in the water, then she would have maybe hit a rock and sunk down to where she was, she would have been found. But if Nicola accidentally fell and she didn't hit a rock, he said she would have managed to survive because the water was too shallow. It was said that Nicola was seen at 10 past 9 near the River Tour Park. So why did the timeline change later on to at 10 past 9 that the old guy saw her on the field? Isn't that strange? It was the River Tour Park she was last seen. So I personally believe all this was staged, all this was a decoy from whoever. I'm not saying the police did their job, but the police should have had more than one hypothesis, because this is not speculation. This is what the other professional police said to you, and that is what we expect. When you're conducting a search and you're doing it properly, you start with the bench. Start with making the bench a crime scene. Do not let people come and sit and take pictures on the bench. Superintendent Sally Riley was asked why the bench area wasn't closed down, and I'll show you soon. I'll let you hear what she had to say. She said it's because it's such a beautiful area and tourists and people come and people who live here come and sit around these areas, so we can't. Can you believe that? We cannot make this into a crime scene and close down the area while Nicola was missing. There could have been crucial evidence, maybe on the bench itself, if Nicola was abducted, if there was blood, if there was anything on the bench, then it could have been there around those areas. So they should have made it a crime scene immediately, because now everything is tampered with. Everyone has been to the bench, whether it's TikTokers, whether it's the community of Lancashire, whether it's the police, whoever it is, everyone has been to the bench. A red van was seen around those areas, and the police said they don't believe that the red van is involved. But I don't understand why they're ruling out everything to do with any other hypothesis that Nicola fell in the river. There's so many other hypotheses to go, and especially if her partner Paul does not believe that Nicola entered the water and entered the river, I don't understand why the police are not searching other places, because clearly enough in Gastang Road, we know that there's a lot of blind spots. There's no cameras there. And Nicola was seen at the river tow park by a witness. We don't know who these witnesses are. Penny refused to give a statement. Ron, confused us completely. He did not even want to talk in that interview, you could clearly see. So I'll start with the timeline. You can hear Superintendent Sally Riley. This was the first time the police spoke about Nicola being missing.
She was last seen walking her small brown dog on the towpath of the river wire. The dog was found about an hour later, as was her mobile phone. So her family are very concerned, as are we. We've mounted a really intensive operation to try and find Nicola, including a number of specialist officers from our Northwest Underwater Regional Search Unit and specialist investigators who are supporting the family, as well as a lot of partners like Bulley Mountain Rescue, Lancashire Fire and Rescue and others, and the Coast Guard. We thank them very much, as well as local people who've turned out in force, who are obviously equally concerned for Nicola. And we appeal for anyone who may have been driving through the village of St Michael's last Friday morning at about 9:15, or who may have dash cam footage that could be of use to us, or people who may have been dog walking in the area or on the towpath to come forward. They can ring 101, or if they have a sighting of Nicola, 999. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Do you know if Nicola was driving? Are you looking for a vehicle at all? Like when she got to this area?
No, Nicola was last seen on foot.
Right.
Nicola's described, for those who are in the area, as slight build, 5 foot 3 inches tall. She was wearing a black gilet jacket, dark trousers and short green wellies. Mobile phone was found on a bench near the riverbank. No, the dog was loose and the dog was between the river and the bench.
Are you searching any other areas apart from obviously near the footpath and the riverbanks? Is there any other areas, and this is near the local vicinity that you're checking? Or?
We've searched an extensive area along the riverbank out of St Michael's, so that we're being really thorough. You can probably hear the helicopter in the distance. That has been up and about since Nicola went missing on Friday.
Nowhere outside of
Nowhere outside of this area, yes, this locality.
What kind of things have you been using in search, like the helicopter?
Yeah, we've been using our police helicopter, our regional helicopter. We've been using underwater search officers. We've got specialist search advisors who've been advising on the area to physically search. We've got a number of officers out on the ground physically searching this rural area, and of course the members of the public have been helping as well.
Was the what?
Well, the police keeping a really open mind about what could have happened, but we do believe that that the likelihood is that Nicola's gone missing, and this is not a crime inquiry, but we are keeping an open mind.
That was the first timeline that Nicola was seen at 9:10 near the river tow park, and like we know, there are many blind spots there, and it's no guarantee that Nicola was even seen there. Most of this case does not have proper evidence. That's the reason there's a lot of speculations going on. And if we got better information from Lancashire Police and from, I don't know, if the timelining wasn't that confusing, I don't think many people have been interested in this case. I personally became interested in this case because it was on Sky News, on BBC News, and all of our mainstream channels. And it was going on for at least for 8-9 days, and I was watching everything. That's the time I started focusing, because I was actually watching, but I wanted to just get my research right and make sure that I have all the timelinings on point. But then the timelining here is really confusing because it was, even on the poster, it said that Nicola was last seen at 9:10. So I will follow that timelining. And now I'm going to play, I want you all to hear the superintendent, Sally Riley, saying why she did not make the bench a crime scene.
Nicola went missing on Friday the 27th of January. She was last seen at 9:10 in the upper fields of the Riverside area, and she was with her dog. Her phone and her dog were found at around 9:33 that morning, and Nicola has not been seen since. Now, I can understand that for local people this is extremely distressing and worrying for them, that it may cause anxiety. However, what I would say is that there is an enormous police investigation into this missing person inquiry. Around 40 detectives are working under a senior investigating officer, looking at every possible line of inquiry, including CCTV, house to house, tracing witnesses, looking at around 700 vehicles that have passed through the village that day, tracing all of those witnesses and trying to get dashcam footage. In addition to that, around half a dozen police divers continue to search the river. We're also aided in that search by a number of partners, like Fire and Rescue and the Lancaster Area Search and Rescue team, to whom I'm very grateful. So, to the local community, I would say, please, if you have dashcam footage relating to that journey on Friday the 27th, get in touch. We have a new email inbox, Nicola Bulley investigation at lancashire.police.uk, and all information will be taken seriously and looked into.
I'm just going to ask you, when you remain as confident as ever that there is no third-party involvement in this case at all?
I do, Tony, because our investigation has looked at so many potential lines of inquiry, particularly the CCTV bordering that stretch of river. Now, Allotment Lane and Rowan Water Caravan Park have been discounted as areas that Nicola could have used to leave the path. That only leaves us Gastang Lane. Now, of course,
I apologize. I'm going to rewind this part again because actually I haven't even heard it before. Superintendent Sally Riley, said that they're not looking, this is early in the investigation, she said they're not looking at Roland Lane, I believe, that's Penny's camping areas, and she said another place. She said they don't believe that Nicola went there. So she said we're looking at Gastang Road. I just rewind it.
Particularly the CCTV bordering that stretch of river. Now, Allotment Lane and Rowan Water Caravan Park have been discounted as areas that Nicola could have used to leave the path. That only leaves us Gastang Lane. Now, of course, we remain fully open to anything that may have happened to her, and any information is being checked out. But at this time, our belief is that this is a missing person inquiry.
So the third-party involvement that's suggested by the boss of SGI mentioned about the phone possibly being left on the bench as a decoy, that's something that isn't really relevant to the inquiry, or is that a factor anyway?
Nicola's phone was found on the bench, but there could be so many explanations for that. Nicola may have left it momentarily, particularly as she was on a Teams call from 9:01 that morning, until the Teams call ended, albeit she remained dialed in at 9:30. She could have left the phone on the bench to go and deal with something involving the dog. It does not mean anything suspicious in itself. And the fact that other witnesses have not seen anyone suspicious in the area, and that we haven't picked up anyone suspicious either on our systems or on CCTV, does lead us to believe it remains a missing person inquiry.
Now I find this strange, and I find this to be, I wouldn't say a red flag, but really disturbing. Since Superintendent Sally Riley was the one who was investigating Nicola's case and the searches from the start, for her to be saying we discounted Roland Waters and we discounted certain other areas because we don't believe that Nicola went there. Do not forget that they have the CCTV footage of certain places, but most of the places have blind spots. So Sally shouldn't be saying just Gastang Road. She should be having her eyes on many other places, even the gate near Rolling Road, near the fields. There isn't cameras there. Nicola could have been abducted. The red van has been spoken about many times, and that isn't actually something that they should debunk so quickly, because two witnesses came forward and they said they saw a suspicious red van around those areas the day Nicola disappeared. So from the start, Lancashire Police was debunking everything without even having another hypothesis, except that Nicola fell in shallow waters, which she couldn't have absolutely fallen. She would have been found by now. Even Emma White said that herself. If Nicola fell in the water, she would have, like Peter Folding said, that's what she said. Like Peter Folding said, she would have been found underneath. Searches started the same day Nicola was missing. There were helicopter searches and drone searches all the time. But I'll continue with Superintendent Sally. I want you all to hear the reason that she believes it wasn't important to make the place a crime scene.
Other witnesses have not seen anyone suspicious in the area, and that we haven't picked up anyone suspicious either on our systems or on CCTV, does lead us to believe it remains a missing person crime.
You heard her saying that they haven't picked up anyone suspicious on the CCTV footages, so they don't believe that this is anything else but a missing case, that Nicola fell in the water. But you have blind spots. There are many places without CCTV camera, like the River Tow Park, like Gastang Road. So how could you say that you don't believe there's anything suspicious? As a superintendent, you're supposed to have different hypotheses. It's like in mental health, you'd be dealing with, maybe just a case example, that you could be dealing with somebody who's suffering of anxiety, severe anxiety, but you're too focused on that, and you're not focused on if there's other underlying conditions that is bringing the anxiety. So it's always important to explore other places. You can't just come with one hypothesis that Nicola fell in the water and say that they don't believe anything suspicious or anyone suspicious went there because they have everything on CCTV footage, or they have evidence of that. Because you can't have evidence if there isn't any footage, any CCTV footage. That's the reason they're asking for the dash cam for Gastang Road.
Other witnesses have not seen anyone suspicious in the area, and that we haven't picked up anyone suspicious either on our systems or on CCTV, does lead us to believe it remains a missing person crime.
You mentioned there are 40 detectives working on the case specifically. What about the number in general with uniform officers and expert searchers and everything like that? Is there a number on
It's around 60. It's around 60 because there are many neighbourhood policing officers, including the police officers themselves and the PCSOs who remain in the area. There are a number of supervisors who come down to the scene. There are obviously the police divers and the searchers of the physical search area of the riverbank. So about 60 in total. But if we need more, we will call upon them. At the moment, the senior investigation officer is happy with those number of inquiries, but we'll keep it under constant review.
Do you mind me just asking two more questions? The area around the bench wasn't kind of isolated and protected at first. I mean, is that something that is regretted at all, or was that the right thing to do at the time?
Well, this is a beautiful rural area, isn't it? And to be able to fence off every hazard would be practically impossible for an area that people come to on their holidays. They walk their dogs, they enjoy leisure time, local people. So I think that would be a very difficult task, not one for the police, certainly for the local authority, but I think one that would be difficult to do and may detract from the beauty of the area.
So no evidence would have been lost by not being isolated or sealed off.
Oh, you're talking a police cordon?
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought you meant a physical cordon.
Yeah.
Right, sorry. Well, the police officers were alerted after that first call about 10:50 when the school and her family were told that the dog had been found.
Yeah.
Police officers were very quickly on the scene afterwards. In that short window, I'm not concerned.
I hope you heard that. Besides the superintendent, Sally Riley, saying that this is a beautiful area and people come for the view and we can't lock down all those areas. They could have easily taken the bench to do forensic checks on it to see if there was any blood, any fluid, anything. But that wasn't done. And what is interesting is Superintendent Sally Riley said that the police were called at 10:50. We even heard the police were called at 11 o'clock. If Nicola Bulley was last seen at 9:10 and the police were called at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or 10 to 11, imagine the primary school was contacted before the police. What is the primary school going to do? Do they have divers? Are they the police? Does the primary school work with the police? This does not make sense, and this doesn't sound professional at all. I'm being honest. Allegedly. And that's my opinion only. This is really a sad case because there are so many things that are wrong. I do understand there's so many things that we don't understand about Nicola's life, and we are not entitled to find out about it. But what I find to be very strange is that Nicola did not fall in that water. We know that, and Peter Folding has told us that. That's the reason I believe he got fired, because he told the truth. So I don't understand. And I don't understand what Paul meant by, I don't believe Nicola's in the water, because although I hate to say that her clothes would have been found or items would have been found, I think it's this one. Please listen to it.
Has come back at 10:15 sometimes. Like you might just get talking to Emma or
find a friend on the dog walk,
yeah, or anybody. So, you know, it's not often, but she has got back at about 10:15.
That was interesting. We heard clearly what Peter Folding has said. He said this matter needs to be investigated. He doesn't believe that Nicola was in the water. The bench areas, all of that should have been made as a crime scene from the start. I believe a lot of evidence has been lost, tampered with. Nicola is a good swimmer. The police said that themselves. Superintendent Sally Riley said that in the police conference. I don't believe Nicola fell in that water. Neither does Paul, the way we're hearing from all the reporters and all his interviews. Paul has asked the police to search in other areas, but the police were so sure that she was in the water. But I personally believe that Nicola was put back in the water. She wasn't in the water at the start. And I find that to be really concerning and disturbing that it hasn't been looked at with other hypotheses. Because if Nicola fell in the bench, she would have been found, like Peter Folding said. And even if she fell and had an accident, like they calculated, these are the professionals who are divers and have sonar equipments, and even the Lancashire police divers said on, I believe, day 16, 17, they started looking towards the sea because they would expect the body to be unfortunately, to be down at the sea, but it wasn't even there. Nicola was found at the Raw Cliffs riverside. That is only 1 mile away. So if Nicola passed her ears, we would have seen that. So that still doesn't make sense. Whichever way you want to look at it, it will still not make sense. No matter what we do, or no matter how hard we try I've even tried many times, honestly, to start the case off fresh, not to judge anyone, and to look at everyone as innocent, that they don't have any involvements. But then as soon as I watch the interviews and watch what they say, red flags start coming up quickly. And that isn't my fault, because I'm sticking to the facts and evidence. Whatever interview they give, those interviews can be used, even in court. I find it strange that Paul says that Nicola. Sorry, 1 second. I find it strange that Paul says that Nicola had alcohol issues. He decided to give those information out to law enforcement 3 days before Nicola was found, 17 days, I guess, while the search was going on. Such vulnerable information is something you should always share with the police if you want to find your loved one quicker. So something doesn't make sense. Nicola couldn't have been in the river, but I personally believe all the dog walkers, all the witnesses who was there, and all of Nicola's friends, partner, all of them need to be scrutinized. I don't believe this is an accident, allegedly, because I'm taking it from the professionals who were in the water, like Peter Foley. He has no reason to lie, and he said from the start, if Nicola's near the bench area, I would find her. She wasn't in the bench area, and Peter Foley lost his job because I believe he told us the truth. It is really sad to see a 45-year-old mother who had a nice job. Her father said she was happy, she was doing well at work, she was a mortgage advisor, she had a nice house, she had 2 beautiful daughters. I find it hard to believe that her partner Paul was giving out these vulnerable information about Nicola. At the same time, he was letting Nicola drive the children to school. And if that was the person we saw, if it was Nicola on the CCTV footages, then we could clearly see that Nicola wasn't intoxicated or that she wasn't on alcohol. So everything that he says, it seems like it turns against him. But I find it really concerning and a red flag that Paul said in his interview that he hates to think of it, that he hates to say that, but Nicola, he said, I hate to say that, but Nicola, I don't believe Nicola's in the river because her clothes and none of her items have been found. Was he expecting her clothes or items to be found? Then we have Emma saying in her interview clearly that I showed you, saying that Nicola may not even be in St. Michael's anymore. So when you take all those things together and you put them together, you'll notice that something is really not right. You have Emma running around with light blonde hair, having a ponytail, or dressing more like Nicola, if you ask me, for whatever reason. If this was a decoy, then she will have to, allegedly. But let's be honest, everything with Emma we can see. But if you're told not to talk and just let it go, then in fact it's like, when you tell a child, okay, that's it, go to your room, there's nothing to see, or whatsoever, then they will keep on bothering you, in fact. Like children, like when you tell them don't do something, they will continue doing it. So the more we are told not to get involved in this case, the more we want to know what happened to Nicola. Because this is all about Nicola and her family. This ain't about me, this ain't about y'all, this ain't about the police. This woman deserves a proper investigation. And I don't think that the investigation was done fairly and conducted properly for Nicola. I do give credit to the police in Lancashire because they put in a lot of resources. They put in a lot of divers, they put in a lot of police. We could see there were a lot of police in the riverbank areas scrutinizing the place, like Paul said, but they couldn't find any clothes or any items, like Paul said himself. So, was Nicola put back in the river? Is the question. And it's strange that I don't see much empathy, not in any of them. That's very sad, in fact, that's very disturbing. You would usually see somebody crying or something. There's nobody here that it seems like are doing much. And I wanted to go back and check all the interviews that has been conducted, whether it's with Nicola's friends, whether it's with Nicola's friends like Emma and Heather Gibson, who seem to be favorites of the camera. I guess they miss Nicola and they want Nicola found. I like the clip that Heather Gibson was standing in front of the church and she said that all these TikTokers and all these people need to go. They're just searching for a way to come on the camera. And on the background, and then I was thinking to myself, so are you? Because in every clip we see, it's Heather and Emma. What are they up to? It looks like they're giving each other moral support, especially Heather looks like she's making sure that Emma's on point, allegedly. What happened that morning to Nicola? Why was Nicola allowed to drive her daughters up to the school if she had vulnerabilities? So coming back to this case of Nicola Bulley, I was saying that there is so many blind spots with the CCTV footages. The CCTV footage in Gastang Road was clearly not working. Nicola could have been abducted, allegedly, because we can clearly see Nicola was into the water. I personally believe Nicola was put back in the water, allegedly. That's my personal opinion. That's not the facts. But the psychic, you could see the psychic was standing and watching the opposite side, and that is the side that I'm really focused on. I can't believe that actually the crime scene shouldn't have been the bench. The crime scene should have been where Nicola was found, because that wasn't a regular place near Rockcliffe Road. And if you look opposite, you can see the field, and you can see that the field is disturbed. And the other side of the field, if you walk down, that's the opposite side of the river where Nicola was found. You could see a long line of the field being disturbed, like somebody walked or did something over there, basically, or a couple of people walked. And when you follow that line, you see behind that I believe it's Gastang Road, I'm not sure. There's a big highway, so anyone could have come at night and come to that area and did what they did, allegedly. Because I don't believe Nicola was in the water. Nicola would have passed the weir. Somebody would have seen her. There were helicopters, there were drones flying every day. So this does not make sense. Something happened. Someone knows something, find out what it is, like Paul said. I'd like to end this clip by saying my deepest condolence goes to Nicola, her two beautiful daughters, her mother, her father, her sister, her true friends, her community. Nicola seemed to be a lovely person, inside and out. We've heard only good things about her, besides what Paul told the police about vulnerabilities which we're not even sure about, but Lancashire police have reported themselves to the IPO, I believe. So there will be an investigation, a special investigation will be done about if Nicola could have been saved through the 17th of January, what happened when the police and the mental health team and the welfare team came there. I hope Nicola's case gets proper investigation. I hope the HMC finds something, because something is not right, and I really hope they find out what it is. Please like, share, and subscribe. And once again, I'd really like to thank all my subscribers. Have a lovely day and evening. Have a lovely weekend too. Stay blessed. Bye.